She was just chasing adventure, a thrill to break from her everyday life. But one wrong flight sent her to the last place she ever expected, a highly restricted military zone in Eastern Europe, alone and terrified. Emily, a young and beautiful African-American woman, had planned a dream vacation to South Korea, but when she stepped off the plane, she immediately sensed something was wrong. The signs weren't in Hangul or English, and the soldiers in dark green uniforms had cold, unreadable expressions. Her heart raced as she realized the unimaginable. This wasn't Seoul, it was Grey Ridge, a secluded and dangerous military region. Before she could react, a stern officer demanded her passport. Moments later, another man arrived, tall, composed, and strikingly handsome in his crisp military uniform. He was Aiden, a young Korean commander whose intense dark eyes held something Emily didn't expect, a flicker of humanity. As their eyes met, something shifted. He wasn't like the others. Though danger surrounded her, she felt an unexpected sense of safety in his presence. When the officers tried to take her away, Aiden stepped in. "I'll take her," he said firmly. "She's with me." The others hesitated but obeyed, and just like that, Emily's fate changed. She followed him through quiet, dim streets, unsure if she was walking into safety or deeper danger. But when they arrived at his home, a plain, modest apartment, he told her she had to stay hidden. "This place isn't like anywhere you've ever been," he said in a low voice. "One mistake, and you may never be seen again." Emily wanted to understand why he was helping her, but every time she asked, he avoided the question. Until one night, when he quietly admitted, "You remind me of my sister. She didn't make it." That night, for the first time, Emily saw the man behind the uniform, someone haunted by loss, trying to protect her from the same fate. As the days passed, he taught her how to move, how to stay silent, how to survive. He even introduced her as his wife to keep suspicions away. At first, the act felt like a lie, but as the danger grew and the world outside closed in, the line between pretending and feeling blurred. One night, everything came to a head. After nearly being caught, Emily, heart racing, turned to him and asked, "What if I don't want to leave?" He grabbed her wrist. "You don't belong here." "And you do?" she whispered. His mask cracked. "I don't have a choice." In the quiet that followed, she reached for his face, and for the first time, he let her in. Their kiss was desperate, forbidden, and real, but love couldn't erase the truth. "You have to go," he whispered. The night of the escape came. A fisherman waited by the docks to smuggle her across the border. Before she stepped onto the boat, Aiden pressed a worn compass into her hand. "This was my father's," he said, "so you'll always find your way." "Come with me," she begged. He smiled, heartbreak in his eyes. "Maybe in another life." And then he was gone. Years passed. In a crowded airport, Emily spotted a familiar face, older now but unmistakable. "Aiden?" she whispered. He smiled. "I told you, maybe in another life. Maybe this was it." Emily sat on the cold floor of the hideout, her arms wrapped tightly around her knees. Her entire body trembled, not just from the chill of the night air, but from everything she had endured. Her heart was still pounding from the close call with the soldiers, and the silence between her and Aiden was heavy, thick with words neither of them could say. Aiden paced across the room, his jaw tight, his steps sharp and restless. The dim light barely touched his face, but she could see the shadows in his eyes. Memories, regrets, decisions he didn't want to make. "We need to get you out of here soon," he muttered, more to himself than to her. Emily's voice cracked as she spoke, her throat dry. "Why are you helping me?" The question hung in the air. Aiden stopped. His back was to her, his hands clenched at his sides. She waited, hoping he'd say something, anything. Finally, he turned around slowly and sank down beside her. His shoulders were tense, but his voice was quiet, almost broken. "Because I know what it feels like. To be trapped. To want freedom so badly you'd give anything for it, but still have nowhere to go." Emily's chest tightened. She looked at him. Really looked. Not at the uniform, not at the stone-faced soldier, but at the man underneath. There was pain in his eyes, deep and quiet. She reached out, fingers brushing his hand. "And what happens if I leave?" she whispered. "What about you?" Aiden turned his head, their eyes locking in the low light. "You go back to your world," he said flatly. "That's how this ends." "But what if I don't want it to end like that?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. Instead, he just stared at her, and for a moment, all the walls he'd built around himself began to crack. She leaned forward, placing her hand gently on his cheek. "You saved me," she whispered. "Not just from them, but from fear. From being alone." He closed his eyes, and when she kissed him, he didn't stop her. It wasn't soft, it wasn't sweet, it was desperate, a collision of fear, longing, and everything they weren't allowed to feel. But then he pulled back, his forehead resting against hers, his breath uneven. "You have to go," he whispered. "That's why I have to stay strong. For you." Tears ran silently down her face. "What if I love you?" His hands trembled. "Then that's exactly why you can't stay." The night of the escape was darker than usual. Clouds smothered the stars, and the sea churned with restless energy. Emily stood at the edge of the dock, wind tearing through her jacket, hair clinging to her wet cheeks. A boat rocked gently below, its engine low and ready. Aiden stood beside her, completely still. "This is it," he said. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed everything he tried to hide. Emily's fingers clutched the small compass he had just given her, old, worn, and heavy with meaning. "It belonged to my father," he told her. "He said it always pointed him home. Now it's yours." Her tears spilled freely. "Come with me, please. We can disappear together." Aiden smiled. A real smile, the first she had ever seen. But it was filled with quiet heartbreak. Maybe in another life. Before she could respond, he stepped back into the shadows, disappearing just like he had arrived, suddenly, silently, like a dream fading at sunrise. Emily turned toward the boat, her chest aching. The engine roared to life. The dock disappeared behind her, but she never stopped holding the compass. Want to know what happens next? Does fate bring them back together? Stay tuned for the second part of their unforgettable journey. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of impossible love, courage, and second chances.